Hello everyone, this is Koji from Celestial Rhythms, and this episode is titled The Second American Revolution, and it started in Gettysburg on November the 25th with the filing of the first big lawsuit to challenge all that fraud which occurred on November the 3rd. And it will culminate within 30 days on Christmas, December 25th. That's what I can see out of my charts, and I will show you why. Now let's first start with Gettysburg. I looked it up. The Battle of Gettysburg fought from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863, is considered the most important engagement of the American Civil War. After a great victory over Union forces at Chancellorsville, General Robert E. Lee marched his army of Northern Virginia into Pennsylvania in late June 1863. On July 1st, the advancing Confederates clashed with the Union's Army of the Potomac, commanded by General George G. Meade, at the crossroads town of Gettysburg. The next day saw even heavier fighting as the Confederates attacked the Federals on both left and right. On July 3rd, Lee ordered an attack by fewer than 15,000 troops on the enemy's center at the Cemetery Ridge. The assault, known as Pickett's Charge, managed to pierce the Union lines, but eventually failed at the cost of thousands of rebel casualties. Lee was forced to withdraw his battered army toward Virginia on July 4th. The Union had won in a major turning point, stopping Lee's invasion of the North. It inspired Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, which became one of the most famous speeches of all time. Okay, now let's look at the astrology. That is the moment when that symbolic first big offensive move was made by the Patriots on November the 25th, 2020. The very same day, General Flynn was fully exonerated. He had been exonerated already by the FBI in May 2020, and then the deep state just didn't want to fully pull even. And now, finally, this happened on that very same day. And those of you who follow Q know that there are mentioned in Flynn's context in at least one place the number 30. So different people interpreting that came up with different things. It's possible that these 30 days start counting with Flynn's full exoneration. That's my observation, and I will show you why. Now let's just start first with this chart, as this is the initial hand clap, the initial big gong to initiate this last battle, and we have the 28th degree of Aquarius rising. That is where the American nation's moon is, the moon representing the people here in close conjunction with Pallas, which is all about justice and liberty and fairness, which are really high principles in the American society. It is that combination of Sagittarian fire and the call to go to the rainbow's end, literally what Sagittarius is about. It's the adventurer reaching out to the universe, trying to solve all the mysteries, all the unsolved issues. And also one thing I want to remind you of, the great attractor is in this area of the zodiac. Actually, when the American nation was founded back in 1776, the great attractor was around 10-11 degrees, and due to Earth's precession of the equinoxes, which makes the zodiac go backward through the, I say it wrongly, which makes the stars go backwards through the anchor points of the zodiac. So in that time, the great attractor was around 10-11 degrees. It's meanwhile around 14 degrees. So the great attractor is a kind of a magnetic point where everything leads to. There's a great attraction in it, and it is kind of that I would call it an attraction people from all over the globe feel toward the United States. So many people would like to live there. I guess it's obvious, because the United States also is the last superpower, has survived all the challenges in that sense, and we are now seeing it to be the first to really lead our world into freedom, ultimate freedom and sovereignty, giving the people back the power. And that's very nicely shown by synchronicities again, how the American people, the moon, the people, exactly at the ascendant of that moment when that last battle was initiated. One last thing I quickly want to throw in is, you see, 1776, July 4, I mean, everyone is aware of that. And now if we go back to this year, 1863, July 1st, that was exactly 13 years prior to the foundation, finally, when the full glory was coming to a full circle of a new nation being founded on principles of very high value. All these founding fathers, they were inspired, some people say, by extraterrestrial intelligence to write this wonderful constitution which grants all the freedoms. That same time when the French Revolution was starting, it's that spirit of equalness, freedom, sovereignty, which is the founding matter, which is really at the root of this nation, which will be at the root of the world. As I say, this is just the first step. The best is yet to come, as we know, those who are following the whole story unfold. Now let's get into the astrology a bit deeper. So this is again that chart of November 25. Just a few things I want to point out here. It's Mars conjunct the moon actually applying to Mars. That means it's a building up energy. It's getting stronger. The moon is compressing towards Mars. And 1307 Aries, again, you see this is an exact aspect to the American nation's sun at 1319 Cancer. So it is the waning square, the moon approaching that degree, 90 degrees closing in, which is a very powerful moment when the moon makes a 90-degree angle to the sun here in this context to the nation's basic identity, which means it's a reorientation. We're finally at that point where we can act on all that change which has become necessary and obviously pushing us to get into that offensive. Also, that's that degree 13 degrees Aries, where the moon is on in this chart of November 25, is an exact trine to the ascendant. Another clear sign of empowerment of the people. I want to just point out one more thing here, the strong 9th house with Estrella, the problem solver, the one who is ready to roll its sleeves back and get the hard work done, the difficult job. It's the clean up crew in a way, here together with Mercury and Juno, forming a beautiful triple conjunction. Mercury kind of flanked in, sandwiched in between Estrella and Juno. Juno, the asteroid representing partnership and teamwork, supporting one another, the understanding that a big structure can only hold if there's many pillars holding it up. So it is that spirit of supporting and unifying with each other, with one another in Scorpio. Scorpio again being the energy which goes intense, full force to the root to see what's not in balance and to adjust it. Ruled by Pluto, which as we know is conjunct Jupiter and Pallas. This trio of fast and furious evolution coming to a resolution in Saturn. Law and order will be the final step in this process. They're all approaching toward Saturn. Actually, Saturn separating from Pluto, that is actually was the beginning of this year. That was in January when these two huge planets had their last conjunction. They only meet once every 38 years or so. So this was a big moment, a clear marker of 2020. Anybody who was ready to read the signs in January knew 2020 would be a difficult year for that. It's that battle of the titans, the crossing the blade of the two powerful gods, the god of the underworld and the lord of karma, crossing their blades. So anyway, this big group, this powerful stellium is what is ruling in the background, telling Mercury and these two asteroids how to act, what to do next. So this is the midpoint chart between that start of the Second American Revolution and the American People's Chart. Time-space midpoint, September 15, 1898. That is a resonance point. It is an English astrologer who first came up with that idea to chart a relationship between two beings in that exact time-space midpoint, where the two entities touch, where the hinges, and this technique works wonderfully well with natal charts and transiting charts as well. It is that midpoint which moves half the speed. What stands out in this midpoint chart is Venus down there at the 4th house cusp, in opposition to AW 197. which is an interesting body discovered in 2002, and it's substantially massive. It's about 800 kilometers in diameter, and is therefore the one and only body who has been known for that long and hasn't received a name yet, which is kind of interesting in itself. Let me say it that way. AW197 astrological research has found that this body has to do with walking under the radar of the art of the war. It's very strategic in its moves. Very much President Trump is a representative of that energy. He has that body strong in his birth chart, in that stellium, in Gemini, together with his natal sun, his natal north node, and Uranus. It's all included in that stellium with a few more bodies. So this Venus down here, first of all, tells us, yes, we're on a good... we have a great outlook. There's great harmony and success waiting at the end of that rainbow. It's just a matter of getting from A to B, working through the riddles and challenges, but the cards are in great favor, stacked toward for the winning team, I should say, against the losing team. The evidence is unsurmountable, it's obvious, and what really the victory will be in the end, as I understand it, it will be the collapse of the false agenda. It will collapse in on itself. The mainstream media will go down the drain, together with all those people who were paid actors and playing their role like the Hollywood actors and so. And I mean, as time goes, I think we will see many, many more of that other side jumping ship and joining the good guys as it becomes absolutely clear who's going to win. So it will be interesting to watch that. So it's overall this Venus down here, and Venus shows up repeatedly in the next few weeks' charts, as we will see, as I can explain you. So this is just one way this Venus shows up. If we go back to the this chart, Venus is also strong here. We have another Venus Uranus opposition here, and when I say another Venus Uranus opposition, I mean that in this midpoint chart, you see Venus is almost in the same degree, 8 degrees 47 Scorpio in the midpoint chart, and 5 degrees 09 it is in that moment of November 25. So both Venuses here close together and opposing Uranus. Lots of excitement in here, to the point of being an overload, particularly with the black moon here involved, and we get more into the black moon in a minute, as it is an important player in that unraveling of that manifesting of the shadow. Finally, it has been elusive for a long time. The Taurian energy gives it form and shape. Everybody will eventually see it. It comes out of the hiding, out of the twilight zone, into the bright daylight, and all the monsters become fully visible, and everybody hopefully can see what they are. So let's move on here to the solar eclipse chart of December 14th. So as I say, you just have to know that the plan is working. It's all happening exactly as orchestrated. You're in the most perfect timeline here. Again, 30 days, keep that in mind. December 25th most likely will be the big moment of unabated victory that everybody knows. Yes, it is over. It might not be fully over yet. There will be many little tremors still coming through the months coming. Many battles still to be won, but this is when probably 85 to, I would say around 85% really are waking up around Christmas, which will be the greatest Christmas present ever, and it will really justify all the challenges and sacrifices we had to go through in these past 12 months. Most particularly, it will weigh it all out. It will be an amazing moment when we arrive at this point in time. Now, why am I so excited here again? You see again the 27th degree of Aquarius. That is the moment when the eclipse will be at its maximum. It won't be visible in North America. It's only visible in the southern hemisphere, particularly traveling through the southern part of South America. It will be visible in Argentina and Chile. However, eclipses have a global impact in that sense. It's that alignment of the moon and the sun's path crossing, the moon coming in front of the sun. So it's an imbalance which is happening, which leaves kind of a crack for a new energy to slip in. That's what eclipses are. So an eclipse is setting the stage for about a 6 to 12 month period. So this is more than just that moment. Again, the American nation's moon here on the ascendant, and very similar to that Gettysburg chart of a few days ago. You see it's almost the same chart. Also here the 12th degree of Sagittarius in midheaven, close to Antares. Antares is one of the 4 royal stars, which often comes in as a warring energy, challenging something, getting our butts kicked in a way, so we move and do the right thing. Huya is a minor planet, again, not too long ago has been discovered. Let me just see if I have a little note here on Huya. I think I have something here on one of my pages right here. Okay, so Huya was named after the Venezuelan, after a Venezuelan rain and winter god. Its energy is asking ourselves to open to a transition, to let go of fixed patterns, to free oneself from all kinds of crap and transition on to a new way, a more flexible way of expressing oneself. Psychotherapy is often indicated when Huya is strong, the elimination of a mental virus. This is Linda Goodman who came up with these keywords. She is one of the really wonderful astrological researchers who has done a lot to decode these new planets. which is a ton of work. You have to go through many charts of people which are famous, or where you get a clear picture of what's going on through studying backwards through biographies and things like that. So anyway, that is Huya right here in midheaven. And in this eclipse chart, Huya is just a few minutes further in. Let me show you the difference. 1306, it is on December 14, and here it is 1219. Keep in mind again, this is a powerful degree for the American nation, as its ascendant is 1313. So here we go on December 14, when the solar eclipse is exact. Huya is almost exactly on the American nation's ascendant. So it is something's brewing. I guess everybody knows this by now. Even the most staunch denier of what really has been going on will already feel the tremors in their basement, somewhat or other. It's not as it usually has been. There's lots of challenges. Now, this chart is powerful of that solar eclipse. Just look again at this Venus, Juno, and Estrella conjunction. We looked at Juno and Estrella. You remember, just quickly go back. That was the November 25 chart. So in these 3 weeks or so into December 14, Venus moves onward here, and Estrella is approaching Juno. So to kind of culminate in this triple conjunction right on that day of the eclipse, that is very special in itself, opposing Sedna and T-squaring the American nation's moon, as well as the ascendant descendant of this chart, shows this is a major structure. And Venus here, highly elevated, is the kind of the focal point of this chart. But also we see Mercury at the lunar south node, which indicates that we are now looking into a rear view mirror, and all of a sudden things fall in place. We see why things were the way they are. It's also a big lesson in history, in true history. Many deceptions will start falling away. Again, this is an initiation chart. Don't expect everything I'm telling you here to happen on that day of the December 14 eclipse. This is a seed point, and what we see here anchored and set in into a foundation will evolve and naturally come to a full circle over the next 6 to 12 months. I also want to throw in at this point that according to the 9, those of you who follow Magenta Pixie will have heard that voice of that white-winged collective consciousness of 9, which is a higher dimensional group of beings who give us advice, who kind of help us navigate through this time. Their messages are just always spot on, and they said the final channel, the final challenge, the final battle for planet Earth, for regaining freedom and sovereignty, will last for 13 months, and it began last May in earnest. So if we count May, June, July, August, September, October, November, so we are just ending the 7th month of a 13-month period. We're getting into the deciding 8th month, and then there will be another 4 or 5 months or so for all the structural pieces to get put in place to complete that journey. So it will be still intense and warlike in many ways, but there will be a huge breakthrough just around the corner coming before Christmas. Okay, why am I saying that? Well, let's just go straight to, actually, let's just jump that other one. I don't want to make the video here too long. I really want to focus on the essence right now here. So this is the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of December 21st. What is interesting in this chart is not just that it is winter solstice, when this new beginning is anchored of the Jupiter and Saturn cycle, which is the socio-economic cycle, Jupiter and Saturn being the two big hands on the cosmic clock. They're uniting, meeting each other every 20 years. So I just want to quickly repeat for those who are new here. Jupiter and Saturn had their last meeting in May 2000 in the sign Taurus, in the 23rd degree of Taurus, that was, which, if we overlay the 64 I Ching hexagrams as taught by the human design system, this is hexagram 23, which was at the root of this 20-year cycle. 23 is hexagram 23 collapse. So already back then, any astrologer who would have taken note would have known these would be difficult 20 years between 2000 and 2020, that this would be the final challenge, the final time in 800 years Jupiter and Saturn had their meeting in an earth sign. And by December 2020, the two planets will both be in Aquarius and have their first meeting for a consequent 200-year period in the three air signs. This in itself is a powerful rhythm over a long time, showing the different phases societies move through. The last 2 centuries being meetings in the earth trine is very interesting in the context of how materially focused those last 200 years were. So as we now look at this chart, this is a renewal again, and we see Taurus rising. So it's about making things real, making things happen. Exactly T-squaring Jupiter and Saturn. I mean, this is special. You can't make these things up. This is the exact 90-degree angle to the American nation's capital ascendant for that moment. So these two planets are having their strongest, most direct impact, making a 90-degree angle to both the ascendant and the descendant. The horizon axis means that America again will be the leading factor into these coming 2 decades. Interesting for those who have followed my other podcasts, videos. Arrokoth is exactly here at midheaven, most closely together with Hilonome. In a nutshell, Hilonome is about redemption and healing. Arrokoth is the expansion of our awareness of seeing the whole picture all of a sudden, of all the many pieces of the puzzle falling in place, having us to rewrite history. And there will be lots of forgiveness which is necessary to overcome the challenges of the coming 20 years. That is Hilonome telling us. So let's move on. I just wanted to quickly stop at this chart on the way here to, okay, this is the midpoint chart, just want to throw this in. This is how the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, that moment interacts with the American nations chart. Most interesting here, the 4th house cusp with Chiron, which is the wound at first, to feel the wound, to feel the pain, and then confront it and do all the necessary steps toward healing before we feel what's wrong and see it and open the wound and clean it, and healing cannot happen. That is what is happening in the next 2 decades. This is a long process. We're really looking at the redesigning our whole world, and this is what Chiron at this place really indicates. It is a very profound process which will be getting on its way. Okay, now December 22nd. That is the week. You see, the 21st was when this is the solar eclipse on the 14th again, and then where is it here? Where is it hiding? No. I thought I had it. Okay, right, here we are. Monday, December 21st, Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Tuesday, December 22nd, boom, 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 Mars-Aries conjunction. That's the 3rd one. And a few hours later, a black moon Uranus conjunction. That is here. That happens once every 9 years. Shows that there's something coming to a full circle, something of shattering and deeply, what's the word, I would call it surprising, shocking nature of sort. I mean, it can, all these symbols can have many meanings, will express for every person in a little different way. It's a quality, it's like a tarot card. That's the similarity between planetary symbols and the tarot, if you're familiar with the tarot or with the I Ching. It's giving you allegories, images, and they can manifest in many ways, many levels. So I'm expecting this on the collective level to be a shock, a surprise to many people. Their worldview might just shatter in 1,000 pieces. It is happening to each one on their awakening journey at some point, that you all of a sudden will question everything and anything, and nothing will be as it was the day before. So it will be a shattering experience, and will be needing the help of those who already know. And how beautiful, again, in that moment when the chaos seems to hit the fan, we see Venus again strongly placed here at the midheaven. There are enough of us who know, who will be able to hold the energy and calm the chaos down, bring it into a containment. I guess this is really the best way to say it. It's interesting that this is also around the time when we will have an upper conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. That means from Earth's point of view, Mercury, who is on a 4-month orbit in the together with Sun and Earth, will be at its culmination point, actually conjuncting Pholus, Quaoar, Pholus, all about secret sting operations, and also Pholus always shows up when there's radical shifts and turns, when we arrive at the point when finally we quit smoking, or we finally quit that job which has been bugging us for years. Pholus is always coming in at turning points, so that's another indication that yes, with December 21st, 22nd, we will be at a major turning point, whatever it will be. Probably Supreme Court ruling, that could be it, or something of that sort, which really can't be ignored anymore, which will be the big victory celebration, really the big surprise for Christmas, which then 2 days later, which seems to be the ultimate clash. So it starts with the 21st, builds up on the 22nd, and then by Thursday, by Christmas Eve, pretty much last minute, okay, now the big boom. It so happens that for Washington DC, on that day, 8:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's this triple conjunction of Uranus, Moon, and Black Moon, exactly culminating over Washington DC. I guess this in itself is a fractal of what we will see happening. It's that big clash which will illuminate everything. Nobody can stay asleep when things become so radically revealed. And this is my final chart. That is that moment, 8:11 p.m. on the 24th. If we do the midpoint chart with the American nations, what stands out here is this. And this is something which has been building for months and months and months. Let me just go back here to this chart quickly. Now you see this is September 29, 1898. That is the midpoint the American nations chart makes with that December 24th chart. If we now go back a few weeks to that moment when the final whistle was activated, when that big lawsuit was filed, November 25. So this is the midpoint chart of that November 25 chart, and here you see we have the black moon at 11:44, the lunar south node at 15:28. Now consider the black moon moves forward and the lunar nodes, they always move backwards. So these 2 points are closing in on each other, and just want to remind you, in the center of those 2 points we have the American nation's sun at 1319. So as we speak, over the coming weeks, that midpoint chart is closing in on the American nation's sun. So that is, in my view, the cleanest and most obvious indication that yes, things are coming to a peak on Christmas Eve, the 24th of December. That is what it looks like. You see 1321. Remember, 1319 is the American nation's sun, and Mars is here very close at the 4th house cusp in that moment when that conjunction is exact. That conjunction of Moon, Black Moon, and Uranus. Anyway, I want to leave it at this point. I could say many more things. Maybe just one last is that this midpoint chart also shows a full moon. This is just on that very same day, December 24th. just an hour or so earlier, there's an exact full moon in the Davison midpoint chart, in the time-space midpoint, and conjunct Setna. How much more clear can it be? Setna, which again has to do with the shadows, with disclosure, with the alien worlds, the unknown, also hardship and challenge. There's many things which Setna represents. And last but not least, we have the Sun right in a trine to the American nation's Uranus at 8 degrees. So that's another indication, yes, of a revolution coming to a successful, harmonic outcome, as much as we can say so. I mean, sure, we know, I mean, it won't be just 100%, but probably to 90% or more, it will be a very positive, successful outcome. Those who are most stubborn, who cannot really wrap their minds around it, those people definitely are in for a big surprise and for a difficult time to adapt to the new realities. Anyway, I will leave it at that. Thank you again for joining in and listening, and yes, I will keep you posted as I find time. I will make more videos. And yes, love you all. Take care. Have a wonderful ride. Enjoy the craziness of our times. It will be something you will remember for the rest of your lives. You will tell your kids and grandkids. It will be an amazing story in the end. Thank you and take care.